Hello everyone, so lovely to see you all again. I do hope that you're well and keeping safe out there. Today we're going to be looking at the platform Zoom and addressing the frequently asked questions that all of you have shared with us so far. One of the main issues appears to be the security problems that Zoom and platforms like Zoom have been facing over the last few weeks. Now, what I'd like to point out firstly is that it doesn't matter what platform we use or where we browse on the internet, if we don't have a security program on our computer, we are going to face these issues a lot. So searching for a good security program that has an antivirus and a firewall option in that program is a good place to start. If we look at the Zoom platform itself, we're going to be looking in detail about how we can make our lessons more secure for our students and for ourselves, and making sure the content that's shared in the lesson is only shared with those participants. Some of the other areas we're going to be looking at today as well is meetings, which is directly related to the security issue, and we're also going to be looking at the chat options and the screen sharing option as well. So let's get started. So you can see we're on the main Zoom homepage here. We've signed in from the website itself, and that brings us to the option of My Account here on the right-hand side. We click on My Account and it will bring us to our account page with all our profile picture and all our profile details. Obviously, this is not the profile page itself. I've brought you straight to meetings here. But what your account and profile page will have is all these options here on the left-hand side. So then you just click to meetings and then we click schedule a new meeting. We can also schedule a new meeting on the desktop app that we've downloaded onto our computer if we have that. And we just click on here, schedule meeting, and this will open this page here. Okay, so we can have a look there. So there's two ways, you do it from the website or you do it from the app itself. We go back to the website, it opens up our page in our scheduled meeting that gives us the option of changing the topic title. So you might want to change that to 6th grade students or a 6th grade English lesson. The description, you might want to put something like Power Up Unit 7 Exercise 2 or just Power Up Unit 7, whichever. So you can put a nice description in there. We need to select the date that we want our lesson to start. And we need to select the time too. Now here you can see it's 2 p.m. It's in the 24-hour clock, so that's okay. If it is in the 12-hour clock, do be careful. There's an AM and PM button. The AM is in the morning and PM is obviously for the afternoon. So the 24-hour clock is actually useful for that. We see our meeting options. Now if we click 1 hour, it tells us here that we have a basic plan, and it's only a 40-minute time limit on our meetings with 3 or more participants. Well, because of the current situation, that no longer applies. They've actually opened that up totally. So it doesn't matter if you click 0 or 1, the meeting will start and it just goes on and on. Okay, so there's not a problem with that. We've got the time here. We need to make sure we're in the right time, and we are in Istanbul. Mine keeps, funnily enough, pinging back to Rome in Italy, probably because it's one of my favorite places. So I'm just going to scroll down there and just find Istanbul in the 3-hour. I think we were there. No, where have we gone? 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. There we go. Istanbul. So we're going to click Istanbul on that. Okay, so we've got the right time zone. This is only a problem if you're actually doing any meetings, which maybe you are, maybe you're not, I don't know, internationally. So if it's on an international level, then you do need to make sure it's scheduled at a 2-hour difference. So that would be Rome or somewhere else like that. Otherwise, you'll end up missing the meeting. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. So as we scroll down, we get the option of our meeting ID. generate automatically, or a personal meeting ID. Now, normally this one is clicked. If it's clicked, this personal meeting ID is your own ID that stays the same. It doesn't change. So if somebody's actually got this meeting ID from a previous lesson that they got into, they'll be able to attend all meetings again, because it's an ongoing meeting ID. You set it up once, you set up a meeting, and if you use the personal meeting ID, that's the same one for every meeting. So anyone else can get back into that meeting. So it's really important that you click the generate automatically option. This will generate a new ID for every lesson. Okay, so unless you've been given that ID, you're not going to be able to access it that easily. Also, make sure you click the required meeting password so that your students have to log in with a password if they sign in through the join a meeting option, where they need the meeting ID and they also need the password. Okay, sorry, let's click onto that one. So if we scroll down further, we've got the video, and the host is off initially. You know, I said this in my previous session. It's a good idea to have your video switched off before you start. So just so that you're absolutely ready at your computer when you want to start your lesson, and the participants being on again, because we'd like to see them when they come in. I mean, it's your choice. You could switch them off initially if you didn't want to, if you wanted to, you know, give them that same privacy. But hopefully when they're sitting at their computer, they'll be ready. Okay, so we're now going to look at the other options here. So meeting options, enable join before host. Now, we need to make sure that we do not click this button, because this means somebody can come into the meeting room before we, as the host, are even there. And then we have no control who's in that meeting room at that point. If we're the first to enter the meeting room or the lesson, we know, we can see clearly who's coming in, and we can actually kick them out if we want to. So enable the waiting room, which allows us to do that. Okay. Enable the waiting room means everyone that signs into the meeting will wait there in a waiting room. They cannot see each other, they cannot communicate with each other, but they'll just be there waiting for you to let them in. Okay, and then that gives you a chance to sit at your own computer and be ready to go. Okay, now there's the option here. I'm not going to focus on the breakout rooms and things like that. There is the record the meeting automatically on the local computer. Now, you might not want to record every lesson that you have with your students, but it's a good idea to record sometimes. And the reason for that is it's a good way, as we've talked about in a lot of our trainings before, about reflection and reflecting back on your own lessons. So you can actually have a look at how your lesson went. And watch it from a different perspective, and you can then think about how you could do something differently next time if need be, or you know, what issues you came up with and how you managed that and what you could do differently. So that's, you know, an optional one there to click as well. We've also mentioned in my previous session, we talked about that both should be clicked on the audio, just to remind you there. And there's a save button here at the bottom. Please remember to save. If you do not save, your settings will be exactly as they were before. So don't forget to scroll right to the very bottom and click on save there. So now in the meeting, I can see that a participant's trying to join, Megan. So I can either directly admit her here on the options here, or see the waiting room. So I can actually see who else is in there and think about whether I want to accept her or not. What Megan will see is this notification. She's unable to see who else is in the waiting room, and she's unable to communicate with anyone else in the waiting room. She also doesn't know if the meeting's already started or I've let other people into that meeting. She'll just have to sit and wait for me to accept her in. And there in the waiting room, I can see Megan and that she's waiting. So again, I've got the option of omit or remove her. So I'm going to omit her to the meeting. And there she is now in the room. We've also got the possibility of putting one of our participants back into the waiting room if we desire to. Now, it might not be something that you're going to use, or it might be a rare occasion that you use it, but it's great to have there as an option. You might have a teacher that's joining you in a lesson, and you might both sign in earlier, and then one of the students has joined the meeting, but you want to have a private conversation with the teacher, so you can put that student that's joined the meeting back into the waiting room. Or again, this might be a student you want a private conversation with, so you could put everyone else back into the waiting room. So yeah, a nice little extra there to have. So I've put Megan back into the waiting room, and you can see she's there now waiting for me to admit her in again. So I've got the option admit or remove, and I'm going to admit her. And there she is back in our meeting room. So if we click on Manage Participants, it'll open up the Participants box on the right-hand side. We then go to the very bottom of that box on the left, there's the Invite button. If we click that, it'll open up this window here in the middle. So we can invite people to join this meeting. Here I've got one person on my contacts list that I can invite, or I have the option to invite by email. So I can invite by default email, Gmail or Yahoo Mail, whichever I prefer, or I can actually copy the URL or the copy invitation. And I can paste that into a WhatsApp message or another email if I wish. To remove our participants, we go again to the participant box under the Manage Participants, and again we just hover over the participant's name that we want to remove. Scroll down to the very bottom and we can see here we've got the remove option. Click on that and we will remove that participant. It asks me if I'm sure, do I want to remove that participant, and I click OK. In the event that we've removed a participant by accident, we can actually add them back into the meeting. However, to do this, we need to have clicked the toggle on Allowed Removed Participants to rejoin in the main settings on the website. So you'll need to drop down on your meeting, go back into the website on the main Zoom page, sign in there if you're not already signed in, and click down in the meeting options in meeting under basic to that allow removed participants to rejoin, and just click that on. Now I don't recommend that this is on all the time because if you do have someone in the meeting that shouldn't be there and you want to remove them and you've forgotten to switch the waiting room on, they will then be able to just come straight back into the meeting without authorization. So do make sure that that's off all the time unless you purposely put it on for any particular meeting. And one last area for security we should always use, which is available to us, is a little security button on the bottom of the toolbar. If you click on security, it will put this pop-up window here, and you can see there's various options here. But if you go to the very top, we've got lock meeting. Now I recommend when all participants are in the meeting, you lock this meeting. This will stop anyone from outside joining this meeting at all. So it's a really secure way to carry out your lessons. So we click on the lock meeting option, and then we get a notification telling us the meeting has been locked and no one else can join. If we click on the same button again, it will unlock the meeting, and then we can add any other participants that we want to join the meeting. Now we're going to look at sharing something while we're in a meeting. So if we click on this green button down the bottom, this is our share screen option, and there's a little arrow on the right hand side. If we click on that, it opens up this little window here. So we've got the option of one participant can share at a time, multiple participants can share simultaneously, or we've got the advanced sharing options if we want to go into further choices. So when we've clicked on the shared button, it'll open up this window here, and we have a variety of PowerPoints or files that we can share with our members of the meeting. Now, I did mention previously that we should open up the files that we want to share during our lessons in advance on our desktop. And one of the reasons for that is that when we open up this window, if we haven't opened it previously, we won't see it in here. So please do get them ready beforehand. Here I'm looking at a Cambridge Primary Path PowerPoint, and then we click on Share. And here's my Cambridge Primary Path PowerPoint that I'm sharing. At the top of the bar, we see the option to annotate. When we click on that, it will drop down this bar underneath. Now, there's various options there I can choose from to annotate on this PowerPoint, as well as the person viewing it, if I've permitted previously, can also annotate on it with the same, they will have the same bar here that they can use to do that. And this is what the person at the other end can see. They've also got the same annotate button as well. And you can see here that if I click on one of these options here of draw, I can decide what tool I want to use to draw on that. So I've chosen the colour red to annotate on this PowerPoint, and you can see I've got a nice little red tick on the left hand side. Another important point I'd like to share with you on our squared sheet option is that I know a lot of you were saying that you cannot do your listening activities on Zoom. It doesn't work. Well, this is more than likely due to the fact that you haven't shared your computer sound. If you scroll down from these little three dots at the top right hand side, just the one before the bottom, you'll see Share Computer Sound. You need to click this every time you share something that has sound. Now, this may be a video or it may just be an audio file. If this is not clicked, the students cannot hear this as if it was coming out of their own computer. They will hear it remotely. So therefore, they will not be able to carry out a successful listening activity. So please make sure you click that all the time. And then they'll hear it just as if it was on their own computer. So here you can see we've got the option of multiple participants can share simultaneously. So we could have a few students sharing at the same time. And that might be for various reasons. You know, we might be sharing, you know, if they've been working in groups, then we want them to put it all up on the screen for us so we can have a look at a few of those. So I'm allowing Megan to share now. Again, if we click down onto that little arrow next to the share screen, we've also got the advanced sharing options, which we can also use to decide how we want our participants or if we want them to share. So here's Megan sharing her screen. This is what she can see. And she's chosen to share a PowerPoint on oracy skills. You can also see the video of Megan on the right-hand side. Now, this is our preference and how we want to view our screen. So all we need to do is go to the options at the top, which says View Options. So in the zoom ratio options, I can decide on how I want that to fit the actual window itself on a percentage basis. The side-by-side mode is ticked on here, as you can see, and this is how I'm viewing Megan in my side screen next to my PowerPoint. If I unclick the side-by-side mode option here, that will bring the PowerPoint into a full screen mode. Now, the video windows you can see on the right hand side are just the normal meeting windows to show us all the participants in the meeting. Now, I've got the option to drop that down or view one participant or all participants in the meeting, or I can click in the view options drop down button, the hide video panel, and that will remove all the videos from the screen itself. So I'll only be viewing the PowerPoint. And just the same as another participant can annotate on my screen, when another participant has shared their screen, I can also annotate on theirs. So let's move to the chat box. Now we're looking at the chat box option. If we look at the toolbar at the very bottom of the video, we can see the icon for chat. If we click on this, it opens up the side window, which is the Zoom group chat. If we look at the bottom option where we can type our message, just above that there's the to option, and we can click on that and we can either share our message with everyone or a particular participant. So here I've said hello to Megan, and I've decided to share that with everyone in the meeting. As you can see, the little tick next to the options of everyone. Megan's actually replied to me, hi, but she's replied in a private mode. So she would have clicked on my name and chosen just to send that message to me. Alongside that, on the very right hand side, there's 3 dots next to the file option. So if we click on the file option, this will open up this window here, and we get to choose which file we'd like to share with our participants. And when we click on that and press open and then share, it will automatically send that to all the participants in the group. This window will give us the opportunity to save the chat that took place throughout the meeting, or we can choose how we want our participants to communicate with each other. So that might be with no one, they can't chat with anyone, or they can chat with the host only, that would be me in this case, or they can chat with everyone publicly. So you can click on either of those to manage that. And our final option here in the chat box is the little cross at the top, which would be to either click on so we can do a pop-out box. So every time someone puts a comment in the box, it will pop up as another window, so we can see that very clearly if there's a question or a comment. And last but not least, the close option to shut that chat box down. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next session. Have a good week.